In this video, I want to have a look at factorising monic quadratics. So before we look at factorising, we need to have a look at what a monic quadratic is. So a quadratic is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So we've got our x squared term, that's what makes it a quadratic. A monic quadratic is when the coefficient of x squared, so that a term, is equal to 1. So we've just got an x squared plus something x plus a number on the end. All right, so we want to have a look at how to factorise that. To do that, we're actually going to look at an expansion because factorising is the opposite of expanding something. So I want to have a look at the expansion x plus a, x plus b. So I want to go through and expand those two brackets. So if we do that, we're going to have x times x would give us x squared. We'd have x times b would give us plus bx. Then we're going to do our a times x. So we'd have plus ax. And then our a times b as our last one, so plus ab. Now we can look at that and we can collect these two like terms in the middle because they both have x's in them. So we're going to leave our x squared as it is. And this middle term is going to be a plus b in brackets x. And then we've got our ab on the end. So when we expanded this out, we ended up with a quadratic. And these two numbers that were in this bracket, the a and the b, ended up being added together to give us the coefficient of x. And they were multiplied together to give us the number on the end. So we can use this to help us factorise to go from here to here. Let's have a look at an example. So our first example, we're going to have a look at x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now we want to factorise that. So we want to have a look and we want to find two numbers that multiply together to give 6 and that add together to give 5. So we're going to do something called the PSF method. So down the side we're going to write P for product, and we know that the product, the two numbers multiplied together, has to be 6. Our sum, so our S, has to be 5, so our two numbers have to add together to give 5. And we're going to find factors. So we've got product, sum, factors. We need to find two numbers that multiply to give 6 and add to give 5. So those two numbers in this case would be 2 and 3. So if we go 2 times 3, we get 6. If we go 2 plus 3, we get our 5. So that means we can factorise this into this form here. So our a and our b are 2 and 3. So we'd have x plus 2, x plus 3. Now, most people are more comfortable with expanding than they are with factorising. So once you get to here, it's always a good idea to go through it just in your head and expand it out and make sure that you do get this as your answer. Let's have a look at a second example. So this time we're going to have x squared plus 2x minus 8. So again, we want a product, but this time you've just got to be careful because our constant term this time is a negative 8. So we want two numbers that multiply to give negative 8. We need a sum of 2, and we need factors that are going to give us those. So we need two numbers that multiply together to give minus 8 and add to give 2. So that negative makes things a little bit different. So our two numbers in this one, well, 4 and 2 will multiply to give 8, but we want a negative 8. So that means that one of these numbers is going to have to be negative. The way it's going to have to work is that our 2 is going to have to be negative, so that 4 plus minus 2 would give us 4 minus 2, gives us that sum of 2. If we had it the other way around, we would have ended up with a negative 2 when we added our two numbers together. So our factors are 4 and 2, so that means we can factorise this, 4 and minus 2, means we can factorise it to x plus 4 and x minus 2. Now if I had those two sets of brackets around the other way, that's still fine. Let's have a look at a third example. So this time we're going to have x squared minus 8x plus 15. All right, so this time again, PSF down the side. So we want a product of 15. We want a sum of minus 8, so being really careful of that negative again. So we want to think of two numbers that multiply to give positive 15, but add to give minus 8. So those two numbers in this case are going to be minus 5 and minus 3. So minus 5 times minus 3, because we're multiplying two negatives together, that's going to give us our positive 15. And minus 5 plus minus 3 will give us that minus 8. So this one can be factorised into x minus 5, x minus 3. So there are other methods for factorising monic quadratics, but this is the one that I like most. So this is one I've had a look at today. But if this is confusing, just let me know and we can have a look at some other methods as well.